Alrighty, welcome everybody. I hope everybody's been having a good week so far. If you're new to my channel, my name is Julie Brown. I am a Stampin' Up! Independent demonstrator, and I'm so happy that you're here with me tonight. I'm going to take care of a little bit of housekeeping right off the bat, give time for people to get on here, and then we will get going. First thing to know is that if you're new to either my Facebook or my YouTube channel, you can type in comments in the question, type in questions in the comment section. I do try to look up throughout the video and see if there's any questions coming through. So if that is the case and I see your question, I will try to answer it. If you're watching the replays, you can still type in the questions. I usually get a notification that there's been a new question put in there, and if I do see that, I will answer it at that time. So let's take care of the housekeeping really quick. So for those of you that would like to place an order with me, you can order through me at juliebrown.stampinup.net. I usually have a link in my description, but it wasn't letting me put it in there tonight. I do apologize for that. So if you can just jot that down, juliebrown.stampinup.net, and then when you get in there, you just click on shop, and then you can go crazy shopping. If you need to reach out to me for any reason, you can reach me at Julie's Creative Stampin' without the G at gmail.com. And then you're either on my Pinterest or my YouTube channel. But if you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, you can go to juliebrown.julie's Creative Stamping, and then you can subscribe and you will be notified anytime that I go live. Also, if you follow me on Facebook, it will also let you know anytime that I am live. All right, so let's get started. All right, so what we're doing tonight is we are working with the Botanical Textures Suite. Now, this is an online exclusive, and so what that means is you're not going to see it in any of our catalogs. And so I know a lot of you have been confused as you're like, you know, I keep seeing the demonstrators do all these things with these stamp sets, and I don't see them in the catalogs. Where are they? Well, that's why. So Stampin' Up! Decided that instead of trying to pile a bunch of stuff into one catalog, that they would periodically bring out some what they call online exclusives. And so this is one of these, and I call this a mega suite because it has like more than one thing. Because usually in a suite it has a stamp set and what we call a bundle. So either a stamp set or a die, or a stamp set and a punch, or a stamp set and an embossing folder. And then it usually has one set of designer series paper, which you guys will hear us say DSP. That is short for designer series paper. And then it usually has ribbon and embellishments. Well, this is, I call this a mega suite because this one has 2 sets of designer series paper. Plus it has the bundle, the stamp set, and the dies. But then it also has this embossing folder with it. And so I want to go ahead and put up the textured notes bundle. So for those of you new with Stamping Up, you can buy all of or parts and pieces of each of the suites. What's cool now is that when you go in and you click on that suite, it'll show you what all is included in the suite on the right hand side. So that's a new feature to our online store, which is a really good feature. But I'm going to quickly go over, show you the paper that's in here. And then we're going to make 3 cards tonight. Hopefully it's going to go fairly quickly. All right. So again, like I said, so it comes with this really nice, and I don't know if you can see the, like it's woven. I got to find my camera. Where the heck is my camera? I'm going the wrong direction. There we go. Let's see if it'll pick up the, can you see the weaving on that? I don't know if it's going to give you a clear image. And then we have, these are called the neutral dots. So we've got those. Then we have the textured notes and these rectangle dies, which I am in love with. They each have a different pattern on them when you cut them. And then we have this mini corrugated 3D folder. And we're going to be playing with this tonight, so you're going to get to see that tonight. Okay, so the paper, and some of these I only have one sheet of because I've been using it to create cards. So like they're all double-sided. Now there's a whole like black and white set, and then we have like a neutral set. So this is a really fun set. Okay, so we've got that side and that side. Then we have this one, and that's the opposite side of that one. Then we have this really pretty one here, and the opposite to that, the back side of that, is this pattern here. Then we've got this pattern. The opposite of that is this really nice black pattern. Then we've got this, and the opposite of that is the black with the leaves. And then we've got this pattern here. I love this pattern. This is one of my favorite ones. And the opposite side is this one. Now this particular, and again, you can buy these all separately or you can buy it as a suite, but this is actually called the Botanicals Textured 12 by 12. So this is Botanical Textured. So now we're gonna look at the woven textures, and I believe that's what it's called, woven textures. And look at these. Aren't these just the coolest ever? So there's that side and that side. I mean, it literally looks like rope. Then we've got this pattern here and the opposite of that. And I don't know if you can see, there is an actual pattern on that. It's kind of almost like a burlap is what it looks like. And then we've got this that looks like a basket. And then this one that swirls and looks like a basket. And you get 3 sheets of each of these. So you get like 3 of this double-sided, 3 of each of the double-sided. So this is, again, this looks like burlap. And then the other side of that is kind of a rug pattern. I call that a rug pattern. You guys might have a different pattern for a different name for that, but I think it looks like a rug pattern. All right. All right, so this is my free class, and the way that this works is I do this for free. You guys can follow along with me. You can write down your dimensions. You can make the cards later. But if you do place a $40 order with me between now and next Monday, then you will receive the kits to make all the cards. Now, the only thing I can't do in the kits is I can't stamp anything. So if you don't have this stamp set, then you'll have to use a different stamp set for the stamping portion. But as far as like the designer series paper, the ribbon, any of the embellishments that I'm putting on there, that will all come in a kit, all pre-cut for you. All you have to do is put it together with the stamped images that you choose. All right, so let's get started on our first one. Okay, so for our first one, you're going to need a piece of Mossy Meadow. It's a Mossy Meadow card base, 5.5, 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then you're gonna need, and I don't think you need 2 of these anymore. I think we just need 1 because I did all the cutting. So you basically need 2 4x5 1/4, but I did a lot of the stamping and cutting previous to this. But you'll need 1 for the inside, for sure. And then this is actually the designer series paper that was just black and white, but I wanted to show you how you could color it in. And so I took Mossy Meadow and Old Olive and I colored in the leaves. So just because it's black and white doesn't mean you can't add color to it. Then I'm using a 3x4 of this like burlap. And I believe this is, I'm going to measure them just because I want to make sure I give you the right measurements. This was 1 1/8 by 4, and that's that basket weave that was like that circular. And then we have, I believe this is a 2.5 by 4 of Mossy Meadow. And then we have a 1.5 by 4 Mossy Meadow. And then you're going to need a little white piece that is 1 3/4 by 1 1/4. And then I stamped this off of the extra 4x5 1/4. So you didn't really need a 2 4x5 1/4 because as you can see, if this was my 4x5 1/4, I could have stamped this here and this here. So I think you basically needed like 2.5 by 4 to stamp this. So this I stamped in gray granite. That is the basket weave stamp. Isn't that cool? I just love that. And then I stamped the large leaf, which is this one here, onto a piece of white. Okay. So if you're crafting along with me, you'll want to have all of those pieces, and then you're going to want to stamp all of this. So I'm going to fussy cut this out. Unfortunately, because we got those beautiful rectangle dies, we didn't get the dies that would cut out all of the leaves and stuff, but I found these weren't that hard to fussy cut. So if you've never fussy cut before, just give you some knowledge here. The easiest way to fussy cut is to make sure that you're moving your left hand, if that makes sense. So I'm not moving the scissors. I'm just moving the paper with my left hand and guiding the scissors where I want them to cut. And I have found that that is the easiest way for me to fussy cut. And I've heard this from a lot of other demonstrators, that that is also their preferred method, is let the hand that doesn't have the scissors. So if you're left-handed, then it would be your right hand that guides this paper up and down and around. And I've just found that you get a smoother cut doing it that way. Instead of, like if I just kept trying to like cut, move my scissors, cut, it becomes really rough. The edges become uneven, if that makes sense. So again, you guys can, if you guys are here with me, you can type in the comments that you're here. Let me know you're here, where you're from. Are you new to stamping? Have you been around a while? Because I would love to hear about all of you guys that are on here. And I was having I used Switcher Studio to do my lives, and it was kind of acting weird. For the first time when I said, hey, I just want to go live, it's like, I'm sorry, you can't set that up. You've got to wait 20 minutes. And so I set it for 20 minutes later. Then when I went onto my Facebook page, it said I wasn't going live until 6:42 tonight. So I'm hoping that it actually went through on everything, and that you guys are seeing this, and that it's not going to like break in at 6:42 and you guys are only going to see half of this. I did look at my Facebook, and it did look like it was going live, so I think we're good, but we shall see. All right. And I am trying to prep for I do have my in-person card class tomorrow. So there's that. Okay, so now that we've done that and we've cut that out and we've stamped everything, now we're going to put, oh, we haven't stamped everything. We have not stamped the inside of our card. So I can go ahead and do that. And so what I decided to do for the inside was we're going to use Mossy Meadow ink. And I'm going to stamp that same leaf that I just cut out. But I'm going to do like some first and second generation stamping. So when you hear us talk about second generation stamping, basically what that means is first generation is full ink, just like that. Then second generation is when I come back in and I haven't like re-inked. And then of course third generation is going to be again just coming in and stamping it without re-inking. And let me bring this closer. And you'll see each time I stamped, it was lighter. And so that's why we call it. So this was first, second, third. So anytime you hear a demonstrator say, hey, I am, or you read instructions and the instructions say you need to, second generation, the second generation is the next stamp after you've done the full ink stamp. Okay, I'm looking for my... Oh my gosh, I always lose stuff. I'm trying to see. Hopefully I am live. We will find out later. I'll tell you, there's been so many complications with Facebook and everything. They're changing everything so much that it's getting hard to get everything to work the way that we're used to it working. Okay, so next I'm going to come in with this really fun stamp from that set that says you, excuse me, you are seriously the best. Okay, and so this one I am going to ink up in gray granite. Now these are very neutral colors, and so I kind of wanted to do a couple of cards because we always, this is the one time we think masculine, masculine, masculine. But I also wanted to show you how you can still keep it kind of feminine if you want to. Oh my gosh, I'm getting a glare. I'm going to have to stand up and stamp. But I wanted to show you how you could still like bring in some leaves and make it, you know, slightly feminine. But leaves also work for masculine cards too. We're always looking for masculine cards, correct? It's like, it's the thing. It's the one thing that's hard to find. But I love these papers because they're very masculine, and it creates a fun masculine look. Now, one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in this ribbon, and I don't want it to be white. I want it to be gray granite. So I'm going to grab my gray granite, and hopefully I have it here. Oh, is that the one color I don't have here? Why doesn't that surprise me? I had it at the, I created this down in Albuquerque. So let me just check. All right, so maybe we'll go with dark smoky slate and see if that'll work since I don't have my gray granite here. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take this. Now that's a little lighter than, or darker than I wanted. I think that'll still look okay. We're gonna go with smoky slate. And so you want to be kind of careful when you're doing this because you don't want to fray the end, the brush end tip of this. No, so Shanine, this is the stamp set that has those really cool, the dies that go with this stamp set are these textured note dies, which, you know, they have all those really cool dies. So unfortunately, no, it doesn't have the dies to actually cut out the stamped images, which is a bummer. But I'm okay with that because I really wanted some fun rectangle dies, and we got those. So I'm happy with that. Even though I have to fussy cut. Okay, so, and then what I always do is I'll flip this over and see how it's kind of white on this side. Then I'm going to kind of just go over roughly one more time. But I also want you guys to understand that even if you don't have, just like you just saw what I did. When I was in Albuquerque creating these cards, I had my gray granite blend. And then I got here and it's not here. I thought I had one here in this studio, but I don't. And so don't be afraid to change up the colors. All right, so we're gonna snip that, and then I'm just gonna set this over here. It doesn't take long to dry, but I'm just gonna set it over there to dry. And then we're gonna kind of start building from the inside of the card. Yeah, so it does have dies. Like I said, this is a mega suite, so it comes with both sets of the DSP that you're seeing me use. And then it has the dies with the stamp set, and then it has that corrugated embossing folder, which we're going to use on the next two cards. So lots of fun there. And then on the third card, I'm actually bringing in some other stamp sets so that you guys can see how to, you know, bring in the stuff that you have and add it to make some really fun cards. We get so excited about the new stuff that we forget about some of the old stuff that we have. And it just kind of sits on the shelf looking sadly at us because we're not using it, saying, hey, pick me. Right? But I want to remind you guys that, you know, Stampin' Up! Doesn't just coordinate their like papers and their designer series paper, but they actually do a really good job of coordinating the stamp sets that they come out with, so that they're really interchangeable and you can use them with each other. So this little piece here, we're going to take that thank you and we are going to stamp that. And again, remember guys, always remember, you guys know I love sentiment stamp sets, and this is why, is because if I ever decide that I want to change what the sentiment is, then it's really easy for me to bring in other sentiment stamps or other stamp sets with sentiments in it and change up the sentiment, because we don't just have to use the sentiments that come with the stamp set. You know, I need tons of thank you cards, so I don't mind that. But I also need birthday cards, sympathy cards, wedding cards, all of that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to fussy cut this as well. So, and then like I said, this is an online exclusive. So it's one of those sets that if you're not looking for it, you don't know that it's come out because it's not in one of the catalogs. Again, that's probably a good reason for you guys to watch the different videos that all of us as demonstrators do, because then you're going to get to see the online exclusives, because we're definitely showing, most of us are showing them to you guys. All right. Again, let me just get that around there. Oh, okay. So I'm going to set that to the side. Let me see if this is, and it's nice and dry now. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this burlap piece and we're going to cut it using one of these here. And I believe I used the one with this, it's kind of like the stitching on it. So again, let me explain this. I know those of you that come to my class already know this, but I always label mine and I number them so it's easy for me to explain. So I always start with 1 is the smallest and then I count up. So 1, 2, 3. So this is number 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't necessarily number this one because it's a skinnier rectangle and it doesn't really fit in this group. Okay, so this is my number 4. So I am going to go and I'm going to cut that out of this burlap piece. So let's switch over to my die cutting. Let's see. There we go. So there's my die cut machine. I'm going to pull it this way. So I'm just going to set that down. And I'm actually going to try to center this. Now, if you want to save the frame, I would tape it down like I just did. Now this frame is not going to be an exact square frame because my 2 top edges are going to be really skinny and the 2 side edges are going to be thick. All right, so we're going to pull this out. But see what I'm talking about? So, but you could still use this for something. I'm going to try to switch back over here. Okay, back over. Now, I don't know, this was probably not the best one, but I don't know if you can see that light stitching. Let me see if I can hold still long enough. Can you guys, maybe if I turn it over, you can see that stitching. I don't think you're going to see it very well. But yeah, so this one, I mean, I can see it, but I don't know if you can see it on the camera. But it did put the stitching around the edges. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount that onto this mat here. So we're going to put that on there. one of the things I really like about this designer series paper is because it's got all these different looking textures. It's really easy to work with, and it just gives you a lot of variety with the blacks and all that. Now remember, this was black and white, and I colored in the leaves. Okay, so this was one of the black and white papers, and I just colored in the leaves with Mossy Meadow Blends and Old Olive. All right, so now let's start putting this together. So this is going to go on the front first. And then even look at this side. Look how cool that side looks after I've colored the other side. So the fact that it's bringing in some of those greens, it would have been cool just to use this side as well after I took the time to color all that. But look how cool that looks. So remember, you could just go and just color in different areas and then get this look on the opposite side. That's the fun thing when you're crafting, is that you'll accidentally kind of like, you know, because the blends do bleed through, but when I turn this over, I'm like, I really like the way that looks. And so, whoops, I may do some of these where I just pull, sorry, I got a little heavy-handed with my Stampin' Seal Plus. It doesn't like it when you push too hard. It has a tendency to grab the paper. All right, so now we're going to bring this, and we're going to put it here. All right. And then our next layer is going to be this fun basket weave, and it's going to be attached to this. So let me get this on. Now you could choose to wait and do this later. If you're not sure whether you're gonna cut straight to the edge or, you know, get it all the way cut, because sometimes, you know, we cut shorter or we cut longer. And if you're worried about that, you can cut these a little bit longer and then build this layer not on the card front. And then that way, if you need to trim, you can trim. Does that make sense? Hopefully that made sense. Okay, so now this is going to be centered. Yeah, so tonight it is Fun with Textures, and the reason I'm calling it Fun with Textures is because, one, the paper's textured, and plus we're adding a lot of different layers, which builds texture. All right, so let me see if I've got that somewhat centered. I don't like to exactly center things because I just think it looks more pleasing. Funny enough, it looks more pleasing to the eye when we're a little off-centered, believe it or not. Okay, so now what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to go ahead and bring in our little basket weave here piece. Maybe. If I can get my glue to play along with me. All right, and I'm going to put that just a little bit below there. Then I'm going to bring this leaf in and I'm going to layer that on top. Again, do you see all the different textures? Because texture sometimes is patterns, right? It's not just about, you know, the feel of things. Now, in a minute, I'm going to show you that corrugated embossing folder and show what a fun texture that is. But the fact that I have so many different patterns and just even the stamping patterns and then putting things on top of each other, it's another way of texturing that we don't think of. I know sometimes we call it layering, but because we're using all these different patterned papers and we're using different stamped images and we're kind of putting them on top of each other, it's also different textures. You guys understand what I'm saying with that? Hopefully you do. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this that I colored, and now I'm going to wrap this around, and I probably gave myself way too much. I always do. And then I'm just going to tie this in a knot. And I'm going to show you guys a trick for tying knots, okay? So if you will take, this is my Take Your Pick tool, Again, if you're not used to Stampin' Up stuff, best tool ever made for scrapbooking, junk journaling, and card making. I'm going to pick up a mini glue dot and I'm going to stick that right there on the flower. Then what I can do is, because you know sometimes we need an extra hand when we're tying a bow. Well, that's my extra hand. So now I can tie this down tight and I can push that down and that glue dot is going to hold it for me. Do you see how cool that is? So it's holding it right there. And then that allows me to grab this without having to keep retightening every time and then tie my bow again. So cool little trick for when you're tying a knot. I say bows. This was a knot. You guys are probably watching me going, that does not look like a bow. And you would be correct. Okay. So then I'm going to take this piece and we are going to use dimensionals and we are going to pop that up here. But I'm going to show you, because this is kind of raised and I added some ribbon here and that's also going to raise it, I'm only going to put dimensionals behind here and here. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'm only going to put dimensionals like 2 down here, and then I'm going to come up here and probably put like 3 up here, maybe 4. I think 3 is going to do it. Okay. And that's because this is already here and that's 2 layers. And then this ribbon is actually going to be a 3rd layer. Again, hope that makes sense why I'm doing that. So now I'm just going to pull this off with my Take Your Pick tool. And then we're just going to take this and we are going to, I want to see part of this pattern over here. And again, I'm not centering it like up and down either. But I am trying to get left and right. Okay, so now we've got that on. So now we're going to come in with our little thank you. And we're going to grab this and stick it on here. And it's just going to fit right down in this corner down here. Like so. Then we're going to come in with our embellishments. These really fun neutral matte dots. And I really like these dots because they're fairly flat. Yeah, isn't that a fun rustic look? I know. I'm really liking this suite. And this is one of those suites when people look at it, again, it's not as explosive on the especially online, right? We're looking at it online and it's not very explosive online, but then when you start creating with it, it's really explosive. So I'm going to use the white because we have white, black, beige, and pecan pie are the colors. These are probably going to be some of my favorite embellishments. Well, you guys all know I like the neutrals. Okay, so look at that. Card number 1. Isn't that fun with all the different colors? So fun. Now the next one is going to be using a lot of the same pieces, but we're going to bring in some of that black paper and show you how you can add some pop of color to that as well. So anyway, so it says thank you, and then you are seriously the best in the inside, and then our little stamping there. Okay, that was card 1. Now card 2, you are going to need, and again, remember guys, if you don't want to do all the cutting and everything for these cards, all except for the stamping parts, everything else, of course, you know, if you're my team, I'm going to send you guys will get the PDFs, but if you're not part of my team, and you just want the card kits, just go online, place a $40 order, and I'll send you all the card kits. And I usually send you some kind of fun bonus in there. Okay, so for this one, what we're going to do is we're going to use a Pretty Peacock card base, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And we're going to use this black one. And this is 4 by 5 1/4. This piece here is 1/2 inch by 4, and it's that dark like rope looking. And then this one, oh, I forgot what size this was. I believe it's 2 1/4 by 4. And I did this one a little bit bigger and also explain. So it's basically 2 1/4 by 4 and a smidge. Someone look up smidge. Tell me how big that is. No, I'm just kidding. And this is 1 inch by like, what is that? 1 inch by almost 1 3/4. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do here, well, let me show you. So I already stamped all of these and cut them out. These are the this is the other leaf that's in there. So I stamped 1 leaf in black memento, 1 leaf in gray granite, and then the big leaf is in pretty peacock. And then I did that basket weave again, and it was in pretty peacock. I've already cut it out, okay? But I want to show you this mini corrugated embossing folder. You guys are going to love this. All right, let's switch over. Now I want the lines on this. I want the lines to be like this way. But remember, so that means I need to put my paper in this way, and I want to get it straight. But remember that when we put these through, this folded edge needs to go first. And because this is a 3D folder, I am removing plate 2s and 3s, and I am using the number 1, which is the base, and then the embossing folder, and then we use the number 4 plate. So that's for any of the 3D embossing folders. Now, most of the embossing folders that Stampin' Up! Has done lately has been 3D. But always look and make sure that it's 3D, because if it's not, it's a different setup. Okay. All right. So let me bring this in so you guys can see. Look what it. Oh, guess I need to get you back over here. Look what that did. Look at this. Let me show it to you. Isn't that fun? So fun. So fun. Okay. So now this one I am going to build a little weird. Because what I wanted to happen here is I wanted this here, but I only wanted like about half of this to show. So what I did was I kind of lay this in here. This is just being like particular. And then I kind of lay this on top of where it's going to go. And then I just kind of adjusted. So that told me I need this up a little bit. And now I can bring this in. And that's pretty close to where I want it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of hold this here. And I'm going to bring in a pencil. And I'm actually going to draw. Need to get that straight first. I'm going to draw my pencil line. Now, if you're not that particular, don't worry about it, okay? All right, so then I have my pencil line, and so now I can like test that one more time and make sure that, yeah, so now I have just that row. All right, so now I can go ahead and lay this down. And I'll explain. Oh, that was the right side. So I'm going to lay that down there. And then one of the things that I do, let me kind of move this paper, is I use my glass mat, or you can use grid paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up here so that I know like where it's supposed to be here. So once I get it lined up down here, then I look up there and it tells me that this is supposed to be right between these two spots. Okay. Now you're going to have to go get that embossing folder. It's so cool. Wait till you see the next card. Then you're going to say, yes, for sure, I need that embossing folder. All right, so I made this a little bit longer so that I could trim it. I tend to do that, guys. I will cut my pieces just a smidge longer because I'd rather them be longer and cut off a piece than shorter. And so then the reason that I cut this a little bit longer too is because sometimes with the 3D embossing folders, just so you guys know, here's a tip. Sometimes with these folders, especially something like this where it's really kind of squeezing it up and pushing it up, sometimes it's so defined that it actually shrinks your paper. It actually, like, because it's pulling like these ridges up, it makes your paper a little bit shorter. And so that's why sometimes I will I say sometimes, that is why I will cut my pieces just a little bit longer. All right. And because it does have all these fun ridges, I am going to come in with my Tombow liquid glue. And this is our green glue. I just put it in this because I like it that it comes out a little bit thinner in this. So now I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to line it up at this bottom corner over here. Make sure it's straight across. And I'm not going to like really push down hard on this because, you know, I just spent all that hard work rolling it through to get this texture and this dimension. So I'm just softly kind of rubbing back and forth. Then I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to actually bring in these are my scissors that I use when there's glue on paper. Just so that my other ones stay really sharp. These stay sharp too, but I have to make sure I clean these really good. Okay, so now we've got that little pop of brown coming out. All right. And so now we're going to go ahead and, where's my ribbon? We're going to use that ribbon again if I can find it where I threw it. Of course, I don't have to worry about this little tip right here that's colored because it's going to go around the back of this. So that's why I know probably some of you are like, why didn't you cut that off? Well, because I'm going to use it, and the next time or obviously this time, that part's going to be around the back side, so it's not going to matter. So that's why I don't always trim off even when I've left some color on the white when I do color them, because it's wasting it if you try to trim it. Then you're bending over, you know, parts that it doesn't matter anyway. So you might as well just leave it on there and stretch your ribbon as far as it will go. Okay, so now we're going to bring this in and we are going to put this on here. But again, this is me showing you how to take the black and make it pop. Now you can also, this paper is going to look really good. Like you could do some white embossing on this. It would look beautiful. Like if you were to stamp this flower with Versamark, and then just like I would stamp it several different times, and then I would put Versamark, and then it would be so pretty on here. So just be thinking of ways you can use the black. Black sometimes tends to intimidate people sometimes, but don't let it intimidate you, because black can be so cool. Okay, so now we're going to build our little flower arrangement. So I'm going to take the little black, the basic black leaves that I stamped and fussy cut out. I'm going to add some glue, and then I'm just going to kind of stick this just to like where it goes underneath that ribbon, and it's going to lay like right there. Now if you want to leave those tops up, you can, and not glue them down. If you want it to be, you know, more textural, you can do that. I always worry if when I put it in an envelope, if I leave too much, like I'm going to leave the top of this so that it can bend up and move. And then this one is going to kind of layer. I'm putting the stem right over the last one, but it's going to layer over the top. Okay, so I left this so that it's not glued down. And then I'm going to take my gray granite one. Again, just adding. And then this one's going to kind of be on top of. And I'm just pushing down lightly. Okay, so there's my arrangement. Then I'm going to come in with my little basket wheel. And it's going to come down here and it's going to kind of sit kind of centered on this. But because I have the leaves here and I have the ribbon here, I'm going to go ahead and put dimensionals at the bottom. And then I'm going to use liquid glue for the top. Again, because I'm just trying to keep it level, if that makes sense. Okay, so there's the bottom, and then I'm going to bring this in, and it's going to be nice and level. Because if I were to put dimensionals here, it's not going to sit level. Okay, so there's that. Then I'm going to come in with this little piece here, and I hope I've given myself enough, and that thank you. We're going to come in with basic black, and we're going to stamp that thank you again. Let's see if I can get it to stamp straight. We always get 2 chances. Oh, look at that. I did it. I surprised myself. All right. Let me clean that. Now this would have been really pretty with cherry cobbler as well with the black. So just be thinking about some of the colors that you could use. Okay, so now this time, this is going to be like here, but now I need to support this corner and that corner. So this time I'm going to come in with my dimensionals, and I need just corners, or I need smaller pieces. So I'm going to cut this one in half. And then I'm going to put one of these like up here, and one kind of in this corner down here. And then I'm leaving that, you guys have heard me say that runway or the alleyway for where the ribbon is going to be. And then I need to put some liquid glue on this side. Let me pull off the tops of those. Come on. All right, and then this is going to sit. And I want some of that ribbon to show, so I'm pushing this in. And then that's going to keep that level. So do you see how when you're working with textures, you're working with levels, dimension, you kind of have to decide, hey, I want this. You still want it to be level, like this piece and this piece, but we're still building texture and all of that good stuff. Okay, so now we're going to tie a little bow. I really like this ribbon, guys, like really like this ribbon. And so now I'm going to tie a little bow with my bow maker. And again, if you've never ordered from me, the first time you order from me, you're going to receive one of these bow makers. All right, so I'm going to just run that through there. Bring it up around the bottom and then tie the knot. I have problems tying bows, and I truly think it's because I have very wide fingers. And so I had to have a helper. And so this is why this came to be. All right. So now I'm going to again bring in my mini glue dots. And again, I'm going to show you a little trick. Because this is going to be sitting on this ribbon, I am going to like pick this up, and we are going to slide one glue dot underneath to kind of hold that ribbon in place. And then I'm going to come in with another glue dot and put it right on top of where I put the one underneath. And then I'm going to bring in my bow and put it at an angle. And then we're going to trim and trim. And then this time we're going to, oh, I didn't do the inside. Hold on. Inside of card. Okay, so the inside of card, we're going to use that same sentiment, but it's going to be in Pretty Peacock. I still need to finish the front, so hang with me. So the sentiment's going to be in Pretty Peacock. And I will tell you this, I know I always do this backwards, but it's always best to stamp your sentiment first. That way, if you mess it up, you can flip it over and you haven't already like stamped the images at the bottom. All right, I gotta get this straight, and we're gonna come in with that "You are seriously the best." Ta-da! And then we're gonna come in with the smaller leaves this time, and I'm gonna use the gray granite, and I'm still gonna do our second generation stamping. So the first generation is full ink. I'll clean that one in just a second. So I'm going to come in with gray granite, full ink, and then my second generation is stamping it right beside. Okay, so it looks like that. Have I ever used the black dimensionals? Yes, I have. And I do use them a lot when I'm using black. But yes, I do. I like the black dimensionals, and they work really good if you don't want to see things seen. But so like if you're using black paper, or I'm sorry, black paper, duh. If you're using the light, like the subtles or even the brights, and you put the black, you're still gonna see it. Whereas if you're using black paper and then you have the dimensionals when you look down, or like this would have been a good one to use that on because it's all dark, you're not as likely to see the black. But yes, I have used them. I have them. I don't usually put them out at a card class because I don't order a ton of them. I just have them for, you know, those cards where I really feel like the black will work good. It's good to have all the things, guys. All right, and then we're going to end this by bringing in just one dimensional this time. We're going to grab one of these big black ones, and we're just going to stick it right there. And just look how just that one dimensional, it really did make a difference in the card. So what do you guys think? So see how you can add, you can use the black, and then you can use different color of cardstock. And then I even brought in that pop of brown right there. So again, texturing, right? So this is like, it's got a pattern on it. This is textured, and obviously that mini corrugated embossing folder is to die for, I gotta tell you. All right, so that says, thank you. You are seriously the best. Okay, for our last card, I brought in some buddies. So let's talk about the buddies that we're gonna bring in, okay? And, sorry, let me move this to the side. So what I decided to do was, for the sentiment, because I needed a happy birthday. Do you remember our charming duck pond? I did so many cute cards with this a while back. But I wanted the happy birthday and the have a lovely day for the inside of the card. So I brought this in. Now this would be a really good set to use with this suite. Because you could put these ducks on, you know, you could stamp these ducks and actually like cut them out, put them on those baskets, like that round basket. And this is going to be a very like masculine friendly. Okay, so there's that. And then I'm also bringing in, this is one of the new online exclusives. It is the framed scenes, and you get these scenes with this die cut, okay? And I apologize, I don't have the number for the bundle, but if you just type in framed scenes, then that's the bundle, okay? So this is what we're using. These are our buddies, our friends that we're bringing in to play with. Okay, so what do you need for this one? You are going to need a crumb cake card base. And then I used this pattern. You can tell I'm kind of partial to this pattern. And this is a 2x5. So that's cut at 2x5. And then you're going to need 2 very vanilla pieces that are cut 2 5/8 by 3 3/8. And then you're going to need, I have quite a few little pieces, a very vanilla that is 4 by 5 1/4. And then you're going to need a early espresso that is 4 by 5 1/4. You're going to need an early espresso that is 3 by 4. You are going to need this little pattern here, and this one is 3/4 by 2 1/2. You're going to need a 1/2 inch, one of your 1/2 inch very vanilla strips, 1/2 inch by 2, and then you're going to need a 1 by 2 1/2 very vanilla piece. All right. Again, guys, if you place that $40 order, not only will you get all these pieces cut for you, but you will get a typed up PDF that has step-by-step instructions with all the card cuts for everything. Okay. All right. So let's get working on this one. Okay, we're going to do our stamping first. So we're going to be stamping on these two. And so the first one we're going to stamp is this fun little scene here with the house and the trees. And we're going to use Early Espresso ink. What I like about this stamp set, the frame scene stamp set, is you can, ooh, that's really dark. I just re-inked this. Oh, okay, so probably, let me just stamp off a few times. Okay, I'm gonna barely ink that up. That's probably good. And then I'm going to attempt to stamp this right in the middle. Okay, so there's that. Now what we want to do is we're going to set that to the side for just a hot second, but I need to come in on this one, and I don't know why I'm doing that. Then there's this other scene that is like walking down the road, and so I'm going to take this one, and it's going to be on the inside of the card at the bottom. This one is definitely going to be like a masculine card. And then I'm going to take the sentiments from that duck that says, "Have a lovely day." Again, we're going to ink it up with Early Espresso ink. And it's going to be, "Have a lovely day." See, I did it again. I stamped that before I stamped that. You really should do that opposite. So that, again, if you need to flip it over, you can. There's one more thing I need to stamp. What is it? Oh, on this little 1/2 inch strip, we need to stamp the happy birthday from that duck pond set. I can't wait for you guys to see this card. I'm in love with this card. Like, truly in love with it. And so I'm just going to do that happy birthday right in the middle. Okay, so there's all of our stamping. And again, guys, if you don't have the duck pond set, then what you're going to want to do is grab a sentiment set that, especially if you're going to get the kits, right, that will fit in that piece. Or you can just adjust your pieces a little bit. Sorry, I'm going to clean these because I don't want them. if I don't clean them now, I sometimes will forget because I get in a hurry. Like I have a card class coming up tomorrow. And so as soon as I get off of this, I'm going to be setting up for that card class. And if I don't clean all these now, I sometimes will forget to do that. Okay. Are we ready? Okay. So our next step is we need this. We need a, where's my crumb cake? Oh, where is my crumb cake? Oh, is it over there? Hold on one second. So sorry. I left my blending brushes over at another table. So I'm going to use the crumb cake. Now, I know when blending brushes first came out, I told you guys that you can wash them, and you can. What I have found, though, is that I get a smoother finish if I don't wash them. And so I have slowly, I'm still not there, but I am slowly but surely getting enough blending brushes that I can have, like you can see, I have the label here. I can have one blending brush for each color. That way I don't have to wash it, and it just kind of builds up the ink in there. And so, I mean, I will like clean them, but it just gives you a better finish when you have more ink in there. So that's just something I have found over time with blending brushes. So now what we want to do is we want to kind of start over here, and we want to just lightly come in and just around this, we're going to bring in some crumb cake color. And I'm not going all the way down because I'm kind of leaving a white edge around that image. Okay, and that's, you don't have to be like perfectly neat, but we're just going to bring that in to get that look. All right, so that's my little tidbit on blending brushes. Okay, where am I at? Okay, so now we're going to use the dies, and we are going to cut out an oval out of this. And then we're going to cut out this frame from this. So let's move to the die cut machine. So now, because I'm using dies, I need plate 1, plate 2, and both plate 3s, which are the clear ones. And so this one I definitely want to tape in place, because I really need this to be centered, and that's the oval one. And I'm using the bigger of the two ovals, and so I'm going to push this up so I can fit both on here. I am going to place that the best of to the center, which is the best of my ability to center. Then I'm going to take this wood frame, and I'm going to cut that out of the other one. And just in case you want to keep the leftover pieces, if you want to tape it down, you can. Okay, so now I'm going to run this through. Then I'm going to bring over, while I'm over here, I am going to, and I'll show you all these pieces in just a second, but I also need to run that 4 by 5 1/4 early espresso piece through that embossing folder. Again, I want my lines sorry, to be this way, but remember, sorry, I do want it to be straight, but remember that you have to put the folded edge through first. So now we're gonna bring that through. This one is really like, it has lots of texture. A lot of it's from embossing. So I hope you guys are seeing, we've showed you different ways to do texturing tonight. Okay, so then here's that corrugated piece. How fun is that? And then here's my oval frame. I can use this later. Sorry, I'm trying to put everything back where it goes so I don't lose it. And then I wait till you see this. So then we have this little square that we can use, or rectangle, I can use later. Again, because I didn't cut a big enough piece, I don't know that I would use this frame for anything, but you could if you wanted to. And then wait till you see this piece. Well, if I can find my take your pick tool. I need to have it like around my wrist so it stays with me. So what this did, look at that. So it embossed, can you guys see that? It embossed the wood onto the frame. So that's pretty cool. Okay, I think we're close to putting this together. Okay, yes we are. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is, yeah, I'm gonna put these pieces on first. Okay, we're gonna take our card base and burnish. I'm always gonna tell you to burnish. That's what helps make your cards close. Then we're gonna take our corrugated piece, and it is gonna fit onto the front like so. And so again, I'm gonna bring in my glue. And you guys, I've told you this before, I use the white glue on embossing because of all of the hills and valleys, especially with this corrugated piece. So I just want to make sure that glue gets everywhere so that this has a nice good hold. So we're going to open that. We are going to stick that down like so. Okay, then I'm going to come in with this piece here, and I'm not going to go flush to this side. I want to leave a little bit of that edge showing, but that's going to go on next. And again, I'm using white glue because it's gluing onto a piece that has hills and valleys. I hope you guys like this card as much as I did when it was done. We'll see. Okay, so then we have that piece that's going to go there. I'm going to go ahead and put this on the inside just to get it out of my way. So this is going to go down here on the inside. All right, so now we're back to the front. Okay, so now let's talk about this. So what we're going to do is this piece here is going to get, I'm trying to decide whether, I think, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and glue this down on the front. And I'll explain why in just a second. Because we're bringing in dimensionals. And anytime I'm using dimensionals, I kind of like to have everything kind of on the front first. So let's see, let's go about, I want to see the top of that, and I do want this fairly centered. So it's going to sit right here. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and we're going to attach the frame to this piece. All right. And I'm going to use liquid glue again because this has some hills and valleys, because it's got that embossed piece. And so I'm going to try to get this to fit perfect. Now it will hang off a little bit more on this side than the other side, but that's okay. That's not going to make a difference. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my dimensionals, and we're going to pop this up so that this looks like a picture. So I'm going to put, and this time I'm actually using quite a few dimensionals because I really want this to stay popped up. So this should fit right there. So I'm basically kind of bringing my dimensionals in to where they fit kind of right on that curve. And then I'm going to use these down here on this end, kind of for those center pieces, or the side pieces, I should say. So I can put one of those right there and bring in this one, and it can go right here. All right, so let's pull all this off. That's probably what takes the longest. And you guys have heard me say, like, that's one of the reasons I don't use a lot of dimensionals usually, is because it takes a long time to get all the papers off. But in this case, I really wanted this to stay popped up. All right, come on. All right. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm turning this sideways to me so that I can see this edge over here. And you'll notice I turned it over because this is my straight edge. This one has a hangover, right? It drank too much. I'm just kidding. So I'm going to lay this down so that it is straight and flush with that edge. And again, I'm not pushing this all the way down until I make sure it's where I want it. And it is where I want it. Okay, so now I can push that down. Isn't that fun? Oh my gosh. Okay, I need some twine. All right, so I need some linen thread. And again, like I said, if you guys do the purchase, this is all part of the kit. And then I'm just going to take this thread and I'm just going to kind of wind it around my fingers. And I'm going to adjust this. So what I do to kind of make it like different levels is I kind of play with these ends. I find the two ends. And then I'm going to show you a little trick that I do with ends, is because I want this one to be a little bit shorter. And then what I do is I actually will take this linen thread and I kind of wrap it around like so. And of course it's not going to work tonight because I'm on camera. All right, and then I'm going to bring this one around the opposite direction, and then I'm just going to tie a little knot. Oh, I went the same direction, so sorry. Got to make it go this direction. And then it allows me to tie a knot. I mainly do this so that I know where my ends are, so that when I'm laying this down, it works. Except it's not working right now. All right, I think I need to go. Come on. You're being difficult tonight, little thread. All right, I think now I've got it where I can tie the knot. Do I? Or does this need to come this way? This is usually not that difficult, but of course tonight it is being difficult. I'm basically just trying to tie a knot in the top of this to hold all the thread together, like so, okay? And then I usually trim those little pieces off. And then what I'm gonna do is, this is just gonna kind of hang down here, really messy, but it's gonna go behind the sentiment. So I'm gonna bring in a glue dot and hold this in place until I kind of figure out like where the sentiments, or I get the sentiment put together. So that's gonna lay like right there. And then we've got the sentiment pieces. So basically it's just the very vanilla. And then I do want, if you guys want the same side, you can do the same side. Again, I'm looking for different textural looks. And so I did not want the same pattern. I just think that it makes it interesting. And then we're gonna put the happy birthday in there. Get that centered. Okay, and then that knot, I'm gonna make sure I cover with this happy birthday. So I'm gonna put dimensionals, and I'm gonna put one down here and then dimensionals over here. So let me show you that. So I need one here, and then I need basically like one there and one there to get this on here. Okay, so now this just, and again, I don't know why I always work from the side. Well, I can't if I want to get it centered. So I'm just going to look at where center is first. And then I'm just going to lay that down. And then you've got this fun rope coming out this end. All right, so that is card 3. So what do you guys think? Let me bring it closer. Look how fun that card is, with all that fun textural and dimension. And it just says happy birthday, and then on the inside, have a lovely day. All right, so the 3 cards that we made tonight, let me just bring them back in, are these 3 right here. And it was using parts and pieces from that Botanical Textures Suite. This is an online suite, so you need to write that number down or remember that name if you want to order this suite. And I tried to show you how you can still keep it masculine, but still use the leaves, and then how you can also bring in some color if you want to bring in color. So the bundle, which is the stamp set and the dies, which are those fun rectangle dies, again, that's part of this suite. All right, so does anyone have any questions? I'm not seeing any questions. Don't know if anyone's still with me. That took a while. And again, okay, so that's, if you guys do want to place a $40 order so that you get these card kits, you can do that at juliebrown.stampinup.net. Go to shop, and then just put, and you don't have to buy these sets. You can buy anything for $40, but you only have until Monday night at 9 o'clock to get that order in, and then I will mail these out on Wednesday morning to you. And then you can come back and watch this replay and make these cards with me. And I usually put in like some kind of fun. I usually put in an extra card kit. Usually is what I put in there, or sometimes I'll put in a whole packet of dimensionals. So you will get something special for placing that order. Anyway, guys, thank you for being with me tonight. I always appreciate everybody being with me and hanging out, because I know time is precious. If you guys have any questions, please reach out to me. I hope I was able to show you some different ways to use this, the blacks and the Botanical Textures, DSP and the Woven Textures DSP. I'm just really in love with this suite. And I haven't even begun. This is just my first 3 cards that I've created with it. So I can't wait to keep playing with it. But anyway, I've got to get ready for my class tomorrow. And so I will see most